Hi everyone, welcome back to our show. Today we're very happy to have Michael, the co-founder of Zero G. Basically, is I think one of the like really popular data AI, data slash AI slash like Web3 projects in the crypto space. I think like given the recent launch of the EigenLayer tokens, so I think everyone paid a lot of attentions to not only the Eigen but also EigenDA as well. So I think zero G given like the positioning is like very close or like even slightly better than a lot of like other DA competitors. So like we're very happy to have like the like zero G founders Michael to our show. Welcome, Michael.
Nice to be here. Thanks for having me, Sky.
Awesome. Yeah. So first of all, like could you like tell us more about what is like zero gravity or like zero G?
Yeah, nice to be here, of course. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Zero G or Zero Gravity in the long form. At Zero G, we're building the first decentralized AI operating system. And as part of that entire stack, we started at the data layer. So we built Zero G storage. On top of that, we built Zero G data availability. And then soon we're going to be releasing an execution stack as well called the Zero G serving framework. And so the whole idea is for us to bring AI fully on chain so that we can live in a world where AI is safe and AI is meeting human needs. And so our mission is to make AI a public good, and we need the infrastructure to be able to do that. And so Zero G is really designed for this extreme use case, which is AI, and AI is very data hungry. It needs a lot of data throughput and performance in order to do certain things like model training, model inference at large scales. And so that's why we exist.
Awesome. Yeah, I think like zero gravity is basically trying to target the areas of like having like a stronger and better like data availability layer, especially for the AI use case, right? So what are the key difference among like zero G versus like other like DA layer like Avio, Silesia, or like INDA?
Yeah, so we're differentiated by being the fastest, the most secure, and then also the most programmable data availability layer. So most DA layers, their performance throughput is about up to 10 megabytes per second or so. But then if you look at the AI use case, if we ever want to do things like AI model training and training on chain, we need to deal with tens of gigabytes, if not hundreds of gigabytes per second of throughput. So we're still, 1000x off, even with the fastest systems, even more than that. And so we designed a DA layer that can actually reach that level of performance. And the way we did it is, first of all, we found that by separating data storage from data publishing reduces this thing called the data broadcasting bottleneck on the network. So that was the first key insight around this architecture. Then the second key insight was when we do that, and then we can highly parallelize the system so that every node that gets added to the network actually adds to the overall throughput of the network. And so then the consensus engine becomes the bottleneck. And then the third step was then to say, okay, how do we even parallelize the consensus layers over time? And by doing these three things, we basically figured out a way to infinitely scale data availability. And so per custom consensus layer, we can drive about 50 gigabytes per second of throughput, which is enough to do things like these extreme use cases like on-chain model training or 100 million users playing on-chain games at the same time and so on. So we're really designed for performance, security, and programmability. Happy to jump into the other two, of course, as well.
Got it, makes sense. But I mean, like, I keep hearing a lot of people saying that, like, or kind of like having concern, basically, like a lot of like infrastructures or like data layers. Basically, the true bottlenecks of the blockchain right now is not about like having like a faster blockchain or like more secure blockchain or like more like a faster data layer or like a better data layer. Is the true bottleneck is about the use case or the application itself. So do you think like does zero gravity really solve the true like kind of the bottleneck of the blockchain industries, or like what kind of use case or narrative on could be kind of like released or unlocked based on the zero gravity technologies?
Yeah. So the way we look at the world is that in the next 5 to 10 years, every company is going to be an AI company, just like every company became an internet company kind of post the dot-com boom. It's essentially a completely new computing platform. And so, in order for us not to miss the boat in Web3, we need the right level of infrastructure to completely unlock that. We even take the strong stance that there's no future in AI without blockchains because there's different types of use cases. On a one spectrum, you've got like personal use cases like order a pizza or like pay this thing for me. And then there's societal levels use cases where AI agents or models can run entire systems. So like administrative systems, logistics systems, manufacturing systems. And why would we want to trust a handful of companies to control all of that across the world if we could have the same system based on blockchains and people can independently verify and make sure all of the data that went into the training of this model didn't have any injection attacks, didn't have any kind of malicious kind of actors and so on. So, and then as the model is running, we could utilize things like slashing and economic incentive mechanisms. So there's a lot of benefits from having AI on blockchain. So I truly think blockchains were designed for the AI use case. And in the future, if you think, for example, one of the key stopping areas for blockchain is the whole user interface. It's like nobody wakes up in the morning and says, "Oh, I need to use this bridge. I'm so excited. Like I need to bridge this from Arbitrum to Base, and I have to go through like multiple steps." Like nobody cares from an end user perspective. I just want to use specific applications. It's like utilizing going to Netflix and clicking on the app, and it tells you, okay, which AWS server do you want to use? Which encoding algorithm do you want to use for your videos? Like, which payment methodology would you like to use? And then every time you have to do that to use Netflix, at some point you're like, I just want to watch my videos. Like, stop giving me these choices. And similarly, we need to get to a stage where that's the case. So if you have a fully on-chain AI agent that can just navigate all of this, and you basically just say like, hey, do this for me, it's a very different user experience, and it'd be much easier to adopt blockchains.
Yeah, I think it really makes sense. I think with the zero G definitely like truly release the true potential of the Web3 AI use case for sure. Yeah, maybe like let's take a zoom out from the product itself. So I mean like happy to know more about the background of you guys because I think OG is like a Zero Gravity is like definitely a project that requires a lot of like technical requirements and also requires the founders have like true understanding in the industries. I know your team is basically a really like amazing Avengers Marvel team with the like with you guys and also with your CTO, all everyone like serial entrepreneurs. Could you tell us more about your background as well?
Yeah, just high level, as a founding team, started two unicorn companies, one of which was a top YC company. We have more than 8 computer science PhDs on the team, and that number is growing. We have 5 Olympic gold medalists in informatics on the team, so it requires a really like hardcore team to build this. And we've also, beyond the founding team, have attracted people from Chainlink, from Avalanche, from Binance, and a lot of like really high scale Web2 companies as well, like Microsoft and McKinsey and Bridgewater and so on. So it's like a really strong mix of really talented people that both really deeply understand technology, but also really deeply understand how to build an ecosystem, how to really kind of push the narrative and to push Web3 and AI adoption. And so really excited about the team. So to give some more specifics, Ming, who's the CTO, he spent 11 years at Microsoft Research. He's a domain expert on both AI and distributed and decentralized scaling systems. He wrote some of the key papers in distributed storage like Tango and Curfew. He also wrote the Conflux scaling paper. An, who's the other co-founder, who's our kind of chief strategy and science officer, he used to be an intern for Ming initially. He himself has 2 gold medals in informatics. He has MIT computer science PhD. He's also a professor at the University of Toronto in computer science. And they then started Conflux, which is a very prominent layer one in China, for example. And so they've been able to recruit a really phenomenal team on the tech side, and I've done all the kind of business side recruiting.
Awesome. Yeah. Feels like you guys have the best combination within not only the technical industries, but also in the business side as well. So with this kind of like team and the product positioning, is like I'm really curious to know like how much have you guys fundraised so far and what VCs have been supporting you guys from like day one?
Yeah, I can tell you what we've announced so far. We've announced 35 million pre-seed. And as part of that, we had maybe 120 people or so on the cap table. And so it's many tier one investors. And it was very deliberate because in Web2, I would have done a very different fundraise. It's like three or four names, I'm done. In Web3, it's all about the community. And so one part of the community is, of course, your retail community. Another part is the developer community. Yet another part is the investor community. And so we wanted to make sure that every part of that community is decentralized. And so even from a cap table perspective, we approached it that way so that no particular fund like holds most of the network, for example.
Got it, got it. I think like the people in the communities will be really, would be like kind of really convinced and also get like a strong convictions on like Zero G given the team background and also the strong VCs that have been backing on you guys. Yeah, I'm happy to know more about like in terms of the roadmap or the communities, like how can they really participate in the project right now, and what's the upcoming like roadmap that people can get involved into the project?
Yeah, we're on testnet V2 right now, and so we've got about 300 plus projects building with us. We recently had about 5 million in transactions on a daily basis. So we're becoming the standard to build in Web3 meets AI. So we're really excited about that. And lots of partnership announcements are coming down the pipeline. The easiest way to get engaged, there's two ways. One is on the supply side and one's on the demand side. So on the supply side, if you're interested in running specific type of nodes, you can run validator nodes, you can run different types of storage nodes. There's a storage node that's called standard. There's a storage node that's called turbo. There's a key value store storage node, and they're all distinguished essentially by what they do on the network. One's an SSD, one's an HDD, another one does more hotter forms of storage, not just log storage. And then there's a DA node that you can run. And then in the future, you can, very soon also run kind of on the serving network. You can add GPU capacity, you can add, OPML or inference capacity, and so on. So that's the supply side. On the
Mhm.
demand side, you can use our storage system, you can use our DA, and then soon also inference and fine tuning through our serving layer that's coming up. So you can
Got it.
build in different ways.
I'm very curious to know like if I were like if for the users if they want to become part of the like the validator node and try to like contribute to the network, right? Which node would be the best one to do? Like the what either it's like a kind of validator node or like storage node. Which one is gonna be like the easier one, or which one is gonna have like the more like potential reward in the future as well?
That's always the $1 million question, I guess. I would say from a ease standpoint, it's the storage nodes first, then it would be the DA nodes, and then it would be the validator nodes. The reason is that there's a ton of competition on the validator nodes. We have something like, I think, 8,000 active and inactive validators for about 120 spots. So it's like 60 plus X oversubscribed. So it's a little tough from a competition standpoint. But we do rotating scheme right now, and so definitely want to make sure that the network is secure, that the network has the right level of utility, and so in the future we'll appropriately reward all the different node stakeholders as well as the demand side, of course.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, another $1 billion worth question. So I mean, as a user, like apart from joining as like a node operators, like any ways, any other possibilities that they can join to participate it. Like for example, I found there like a lot of roles in the Discord as well. Like
Yep.
we also suggest them like to join DC like as early supporters or got some early roles. Like is there any tips that you can share, like to see if there are any like possibilities of reward, like for the Discord role holder as well?
Yeah, we have some exciting announcements coming up, and if you're part of the Discord, you'll hear about that the earliest, and you'll be able to participate in those. So, for example, we will eventually announce a node sale, and so if you're part of the Discord, we will make sure that the community is appropriately notified, essentially. And so, many different types of roles, like there's a meme role, there's kind of a posting role. And so, yeah, you can have a lot of fun in our Discord. It's a very vibrant community. So definitely join it. If you're a developer, you can also build on top of, storage and DA as I mentioned, and soon the serving framework as well.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I think what is a perfect answer. Yeah. So yeah, one more question is like I want to know more about like in terms of the next step or the roadmap, right? So everyone is very excited about the mainnet launch or like the potential TG date as well. Like any thoughts on the upcoming roadmap?
Yeah, so we're going to be releasing the serving framework pretty soon. So that essentially will conclude testnet v2 from a just feature perspective. And then mainnet v1, we're targeting first half of next year. And then depending on market conditions, it may be earlier rather than later. So that's kind of the next milestone. We also want to make sure that the node sale happens beforehand. And that's our way of decentralizing the network because we fundamentally believe in order to be an active contributor to the network, you should really be an owner as part of the network. Because when you're an owner, then you care about the network, you make sure you maintain it well. And so we like this ownership mentality. So that's why we've opted for that decentralization mechanism. So that's coming up. And then mainnet v2, we'd likely look at maybe 6 months or so afterwards as well. And so we'll introduce some more really exciting execution level features. And we're concurrently also starting to do pretty deep research on the AI side, especially around decentralized compute, as well as AI alignment. So you'll see a lot of announcements coming in the future about some of the research that we're doing on that area.
Awesome, awesome. And like, how do you plan to kind of sustain the projects given like after the TGE launch, right? And also like, what's the key business model like in order to have like a stronger runway to sustain a project instead of just like selling tokens like most of the projects.
Yeah, we actually spend a lot of time around the token economics because some of the things that we've seen in other protocols is that they would, for example, reward people just to put capacity on the network, but not like real data, for example. So we wanted to make sure that we only reward direct contributions of actually useful data, for example. And so that's our whole perspective is like really useful data, really useful work on that particular network. Um, and so from a token economics perspective, that was very, very essential for us. Um, as far as your other part of the question, um, remind me again, what was the other part?
Business model one. Yeah, and
Oh, the
how
business model.
like
Yeah.
a stronger runway in the future as well.
Yeah, the business model. So the token utility, you can actually pay for the services. And so as part of that, we take a transaction fee. And then every time you use our network, which is essentially a layer one, we also get some of the gas fees, of course. And then as part of the kind of validator mechanism, we also have some built-in um, mechanism to also get some rewards and transaction fees from kind of the validator rewards so that the network essentially is self-sustaining so that we never have to worry about like, oh, okay, we need a bigger treasury. Let's dump a bunch of tokens on the open market. That's not at all what we kind of thought about. We wanted to really have a self-sustaining mechanism through the utility of the network.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah. And one last question, like any like final words to the community members, like or should you say like one sentence to summarize why like Zero G is the next project that everyone should pay attention to?
If you truly care about decentralizing AI and you care about a abundant future for all of humanity, Zero G is the standard to build and Web3 meets AI. Again, we have the fastest, most secure, most programmable infrastructure for you to build on top of it. And so, come join us, join our Discord, join us on X, follow me on X, M. Heinrich, and we'd be happy to engage with you.
Awesome. So like if you are like bullish on the crypto slash AI use case, so Zero G is probably the best the infrastructures to empower those use case on top. And like I think that everyone should participate like in the Discord and also the node operator as well, just to like kind of get involved and get a sense of like more like what Zero G is doing actually. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, well said. Well summarized.
Perfect, cool. Thank you so much, Michael. We're very happy to have you today. And happy like to invite you again, like maybe like after your token launch, then you can like try to share more of your upcoming roadmaps in the future as well.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it'd be super fun to do that.